Considering the circumstances mentioned in the last video, one thing that a lot of you said about my older videos is that you'll miss certain videos that were part of certain series. Story times, can't trust these thoughts, programming socks also being one of them as well. I want this video to specifically touch on the vast field of coding, programming, engineering, and any other sort of related topics. And I get message from time to time, or I'll see like a comment or something like that about asking me like, how do I learn programming? And I end up repeating the same things over and over again. Or somebody may want a suggestion on finding a career. Well, I want to go way back because my story is a bit unorthodox about it. And I did mention briefly about it in last video as well. And some of you already have heard the story or know about this already, especially if you've been an average member here for the past few years. So I never wanted to be a software engineer or anything related. I always was someone who wanted to be in the medical field. The only reason why I got into this stuff is because I got banned from a roleplay server on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas multiplayer, and I was bitter about it because I was a toxic 13-year-old kid, and I was like, you know what? You gonna ban me from your server because I'm being edgy on the server? It's a free country. I'm allowed to say whatever I'm allowed to say. You know, when people pull that nonsense, you know, and I'm a edgy ass kid, you know, so I'm going to make my own roleplay server now, and that's going to get popular because, you know, they banned me from here. Here's my redemption arc, and I'm finna move out the hood, you know, all that type of stuff. And that's what I was trying to do. Exactly that. I was introduced to scripting and programming. This is actually a common story for people, especially in the Roblox community. Some edgy kid gets banned from his favorite Roblox server or game, and he goes and tries to make his own. Difference is, I never cared about Roblox as a kid. So when I started doing things with San Andreas multiplayer, I started to build a reputation within the community as someone who was pretty good at what they did. I wasn't the best, but I was good. I was stoic too. At middle school, during that time period, I remember doing so well in my math classes because I was already doing math at home while I was programming. I wasn't good at any other subject. It was just math I was good at. Eventually, I self-sabotaged, naturally in Aku fashion, as I openly admitted last video. My issues with destroying myself mentally and physically has always been my knee-jerk reaction to things. It's been around for over 10 years. There was a time period during this San Andreas multiplayer time where I started to make money. People were paying me to write game modes for San Andreas multiplayer. Rather, I coded my own. The plan was this: I would code my own, as if I was going to make my own game, right? Like I originally planned. I would code my own, but then I would start selling it like it was a product. So I was selling it for $100 a piece. If you wanted my source code to my game, pay me $100 on PayPal, okay? And then I'll set it up for you, and I'll give you support as well. Then you can start your own game mode, or you can start your own community, whatever you want to do with it, right? But you got to pay me. Simple as that. My behavior during this time period wasn't so great. I did say that I was stoic, but I was very easy to break, and I would crash out often. Mind you, I'm still around 13 years old at this time period. You can't expect a 13-year-old kid to be professional. I ended up destroying my own reputation simply due to this. Later on, I met someone who was really into hacking. He was also playing San Andreas multiplayer. He was into malware development and all that stuff. Because I was so hated at the time, I felt like as a kid, I'm going through some sort of like villain phase. And it's funny because grown men and women be going through this phase all the time too, when you feel like everyone hates you or everyone is like sort of dogging you down for your your current opinion or something like that. So you continue to do bad things, or you continue to act bad, or continue to even be more edgy because you feel like you're already in a dark spot. So you just dig your grave even deeper. Does that make sense? So that's like the villain phase, right? So when these people I was hanging out with, they started showing me and teaching me about malware. And then I met more of those people and more of them. And then we all had like our little own friend group here. They weren't very good people. Eventually, they became my best friends, though. But what did I know about what's a good friend and what's a bad friend? Again, at this time period, 13, 14, 15, around this time period, right? Again, they weren't very good people, but that's all I had. That's all I had. I was adopting sociopathic tendencies from them as well. Like, I wanted to be this bad guy so much because they were the bad guys. And it was weird because they were the bad guys, but they were happy. And they had this online social life, and they seemed to all be cool with each other, and we would play games together and everything like this. And it's like, is it really bad to be the villain when I have you guys? Do I really need to be a better person or try to be a good person when I already have friends and I already have people who accept me for being a bad person? You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm having like this dilemma as like a kid at the time. And again, at this point, I'm like 14 or 15 years old. I became so asocial in real life. Like, I just stopped talking to people in real life. But on the internet, I was some edgy, toxic, sociopathic driven child that I looked up to these friends of mine, at least. They knew I had the ability to code. So they offered me a job. The job was I would develop what is called a RAT, a remote access Trojan. What this is basically is just, to keep it short, by the way, somebody having access over your PC without you knowing it, right? A RAT. They wanted to start some Bitcoin thing or create a bunch of like compromised computers that they would have access to. They wanted to like build like a whole network. They were trying to build like an army of this stuff. They wanted to steal credit cards from people who were making online payments. I don't remember the complete motivations they had. It was so long ago. But they wanted me to code it and maintain it. Meanwhile, they do the business side of it and sell it online. Now, keep in mind, remember what I just said. I was selling my code years prior for San Andreas multiplayer, and I wasn't very professional, but I was good at what I was doing. So my friends recognized this. So they're like, okay, Andre, you do coding, you maintain it, we'll do the business side, because we're all like grown men. You know what I'm saying? So you do that and blah, 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 right? Meanwhile, like I said, they would sell it online. So all I had to do was code and give them something to distribute. And I got a certain percentage of the sales. Well, turns out, in natural fashion of these type of people, I was getting stolen from. Sales were not always reported. I wasn't getting my percentages. People were gaslighting me. And the moment I would speak up or question things, they would DDoS me or threaten to dox me. I'm 15 years old at this point. Both things are making me go crazy in fear and panic. I'm panicking because someone is stealing from me and will shut down my internet or do terrible things to me if I try to be my own individual and say like, hey, you're doing me wrong right here. And, you know, this also contributes to getting older, why I have sort of like this paranoia when I'm working with people. Like, paranoia with dealing with people too. Like, is somebody lying to me? Are you stealing from me? Are you being dishonest with me? Like, you know, see that crazy thing. And I feel like it's so scary sometimes to speak up and defend myself, because in the past, this is what people have done to me. But luckily, I did get out of there unharmed, I would say, for the most part. But they would DDoS me occasionally, even after leaving. I mean, look, lesson learned. At this point in my life, after fully escaping, I'm like 16 years old at this point, right? I'm playing high school football, and I'm not really spending time coding anymore. I went through numerous traumatic situations in the span of 3 years, not just with this programming thing, but other unfortunate things and interactions with people on the internet. I just want to live a normal life again, right? Years go by, and I met a friend online, right? Who I got really close with, and I met several other people online, and I told them this exact story that I'm now telling you guys, these events. And they made a joke about it one day. They were like, yo, Andre, I'll pay you if you make a video game cheat for this specific game. And I'm like, sure, I guess I'll do it. I mean, if you're gonna pay me, fine. Listen, but I've never done something like this before. Let me just try it at least. Rather, y'all are my friends. You don't need to pay me, man. Let me just try this for fun. So boom, I make an aimbot. Man, at that time period, these people who I'm talking about here, who were just like testing me for that stuff, right? They were using it in every match in that related game, and they were like, we about to, we can make something serious out of this. And my heart wasn't really into it, but I said, sure, why not? I'll make it. Well, let's call it something silly. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't serious. I don't really care about this stuff. I don't care that you guys sent me a challenge. I made the challenge, and that's it. I don't even play the game. That's like the funny thing about it. I don't even play the game you guys wanted a cheat for. To this day, I still don't play the game. Again, heart not into it. So, I said we'll make it something official, and maybe we can make some money, like for real this time, okay? And I'll get paid for it. And I never let go of the business. I've been doing some coding work on the side, some small hustles, but that's literally my whole life story when it comes to doing anything related to coding. I never thought it would be this way, but it did open up something for me. The people in this time period who I shared this with, I've been offered jobs. Not because like, oh, you're selling video game cheats, here's a job, cuh. No, it's because, oh, you were running a business which is related to cybersecurity, database management, reverse engineering, software engineering, I would say software engineering, software development, same thing. You can also do web development, and you've been doing this for half a decade? That's what you can do, Andre? You know what? That sounds like something valuable to put on a resume. And that's how I ended up being a thing here. That's how I ended up being a thing where I have gotten job offers in the past. But I haven't put my foot forward to take any of these offers yet. My heart just isn't into programming or IT as much as it may seem. But the moral of the story is, people tend to confuse what they want versus what they're doing, right? And you may see that off of what you look at somebody else. Like, okay, so I just described like a small life story here. You may think I'm passionate about it just off of that story, but you don't really know like that. You can be inspired to do something. It doesn't mean this is truly what comes off from the heart. So you may be asking, Aku, why do you still care about IT related things when you're just saying that this isn't really where your heart's at? It's because I'm a gadget type of person. I thoroughly enjoy things some of you may consider excessive with technology. I actually enjoy, for example, the Apple economy. Having an Apple Watch, the AirPods, and how it integrates with my iPhone and how they all integrate together with each other. I don't have a MacBook. That's like the only thing I'm missing from the Apple economy, by the way. I have AirTags all over. I have an AirTag in my car. I have an AirTag on my keys. Like, I could track my keys, my car through my watch. Like, I got the whole setup thing. And I enjoy smart technology where I could be like, yo, hey, Alexa, turn on the kitchen stove, cuh. Like, I like that stuff. Gadgets. I'm still on the fence about the Tesla Cybertruck, by the way. I've seen videos of people explaining its features. It's a bit too much for me as of right now. The first time I ever got a car, like, I remember the first car I ever had, it was stick shift. The car I drive right now, it does have a touchscreen, but it's only for like the radio. I like manually feeling the car itself and navigating and controlling it that way. Having the features the Cybertruck has, I'm not really feeling it right now. But hey, some of you may like what you see. But that's my point. I'm a gadget guy. I love tinkering with technology, like using Linux. Does this automatically imply I'm just as passionate about coding? No. You have to be careful with understanding what you truly want to invest your time into when it comes to this whole topic of technology. I'm not saying to whoever's watching or whoever's listening, give it up. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, what is your passion about spending time behind a computer screen writing a project? What's your passion about that? What is motivating you about it to stay consistent to even begin with? And let's jump to that topic. I'm almost 30 years old now. If you listen to my story, I started at 13 years old. If you were to ask me, so it's been like over 10 years at this point, over 15 years since I started. If you were to ask me where to start and what to do, like right now, the first thing I would say is to take advantage of your focus. If you have ADHD watching this video, you understand you're either, at times, it could be both or one way, you're either lacking focus or you have an intense fixation on things. I think the term is sometimes called hyperfocus, right? And this applies to people who don't have ADHD either. To learn, you have to keep your attention fixated. If you start coding or picking up something new in life, anything, and you have zero interest in it, you will not focus on it as well, which means you will not learn from it. When I graduated high school, I took a programming class in college because it was a prerequisite class, right? And I dropped out from college anyway. So, I finished this class and then like I didn't even go to class the next semester. You know what I'm saying? I just stopped going to school. But the programming class I did take in college, it was a Java class. Man, this lady made us code all these corny projects and things that weren't even practical. Like, and I'm coding it in Java too. This is whack. Maybe practical for a job interview, I guess. But like, the homework we had, the assignments or projects, they were so boring to me. I had zero fun. I think, not even gonna lie, I had the whole semester, I think I learned nothing in that class. You know why? Because I learned nothing in that class, but I learned a lot when I was coding from home. Because when I was home, when I was coding, I actually enjoyed what I was working on. So I was able to focus on it. And therefore, I'm able to become better at what I was doing. Since my mind was so focused on it, I was learning so much. And the thing about this little tangent here, or short story, is that don't start working on things unless you're inspired to partake in it. Don't start working on things if you're not interested or you don't care about it. Like, seriously, besides everything I already explained, tell me I'm lying when I say, you ever pick something up that looked interesting, but then got bored of it like quickly? Not even like 10 minutes, you bored of it already. That's exactly what's going to happen to you with coding. You'll get inspired or think about wanting to do this and that, and you'll start working on something, right? You'll get bored, you'll get lazy, and you'll put it down. Understand that this moment that we're speaking of right now, the moment you're listening to as well, is a powerful experience. It's not just coding. It's about learning more about a subject that we deeply care about. Because once you realize you deeply care about something, it exposes your personality a bit more truthfully. You may sometimes not be self aware, or you may be aware. Yet, ask yourself, why am I like this? But once you dig down deep enough and see how much emotion and mental energy you put into something, you start getting it a little bit more. The word I'm looking for is disillusionment. Disillusionment. Where do you truly stand as you start to highlight your own frustrations and it's shifting you to a motivation to do something new with your time in your life? Example, or maybe not. Last video, I made a comment. Last video about, I said, I think I'm going to quit playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? D&D. But something came to me the other day after I made that video. I found inspiration. And this is a business idea that I want to share with you guys. It's not going to start immediately because this is something I have to slowly work my way to, honestly. I'll probably make a second channel for that, for what I'm about to do. In my short experience playing Dungeons and Dragons, there are some tools and assets that I feel are a bit too complicated or poorly designed that people are publicly using right now. Rather, the tools I'm using to run D&D games for people, I feel like should be improved. I'm thinking I might just make tools that solve this issue. And if things go well, I'll make a Patreon so you can get the premium mods or the tools from me. Does that make sense? Like, I'm probably going to release a bunch of free stuff, and then maybe some premium stuff I'll be like, yo, you gotta hop on Patreon, bro, to get, you know what I'm saying? But it probably do it for like $5, $9. A little business idea, okay? Some little extra change. I think that's cool. I think that's an easy way to integrate something I enjoy and something that inspires me. Look, I did that before with the San Andreas multiplayer thing. Even with you, whoever's watching, what do you spend a lot of time on? Could something be done better with it? Maybe. Maybe you can write something, or maybe that could inspire you to make a change, to make it easier. And I feel my heart racing a little bit as I explain this, because I'm feeling passionate about that. But if you told me to do something else, some business idea that I don't care about, I'm just going to do a terrible job with it, or put it down halfway and give up on it. Now, when you find the thing you declare inspirational or passionate about, you have to understand, because I know y'all be doing this. When you care about something, you'll research it. I always say you have to be resourceful. Whenever I don't know how to do something, I just Google it. Still, some people unfortunately don't know how to do that. Nowadays, we got Chat GPT that a lot of people are depending on. I was very skeptical of it. I still am. I feel like whenever I have, whenever I used it, it tends to give code that isn't in the best practice. Sometimes they don't even explain the code to you, which opens up an opportunity to just copy and paste and never learn anything. That's an issue, if I'm being honest with you. AI and coding is a very gray area. AI and coding, again, gray area. But although AI is becoming a valuable tool for developers, it can hinder someone's skill development. You're going to end up losing one of the most important skills to programming: your ability to problem solve. Problem solving is literally the most essential skill for any developer. You learn more about this skill once you go to college, right? Because not everything is spoon-fed to you. You have to do your own research to find solutions to your problems. but something is simply feeding the answers to you without a complete approach to how it could be solved, what do you truly even get out of it then? If you never get a chance to apply your own understandings of algorithms, logic, and systematic equations, think about what that chatbot is really doing for you. This is what begins to truly separate one developer from the next. I remember always ending up at least on Stack Overflow or other sites reading and understanding code snippets. I spend more time reading documentation than spending time coding. It makes my cognitive aspect of my brain turn and turn and turn because I'm given like a study sheet and I'm trying to solve my current problem using that study sheet. Think about what that does for the brain in comparison to some AI bot giving you the answers to everything in which you don't even need to do as much work. When I end up on Stack Overflow, I'm just reading stuff and then I just go to a documentation page. You know, like I don't even think I never posted on Stack Overflow in my life. As far as I'm concerned, I just remember just reading up on stuff half the time because every time you try to Google something, you just end up on Stack Overflow anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, also, furthermore, people don't like talking. People don't like to talk as much, or at least what I see with the topic of programming. People don't like to talk about this. People don't want to talk about creativity. There is still an aspect of creativity in programming. There's also an aspect of innovation. I don't remember their name. And if I did, I wouldn't just air you out like this. Just be fair, right? Of course. Maybe you're watching this video. Someone used to leave comments on my videos, and this never made sense to me and why they would do this, but I'm going to explain why it didn't make sense to me. They told me they would leave a comment, and they would leave a comment saying, "Stop using AI art for my thumbnails." Yet, if I just go on Google and steal someone's picture that was indexed by a Google bot, is suddenly okay to you? That's okay, but using the AI art is a problem? Yo, I just be typing up random things in Google Images and then just putting it as the thumbnail. You want to know how I get my thumbnails? That's how I get my thumbnails, okay? Who even cares how I get my thumbnails? It's nothing spectacular. I used to use the AI art ones because it saves any sort of time of people bitching about, "That's my picture I uploaded on the public internet that found its way to someone's thumbnail." You remember that video of that girl? She was mad at me. She was like, she left a comment. She was like, "Oh my God, you posted this TikTok video that I shared to the public, and I'm so mad right now about it." Like, man, you know how stupid that sounds? So you posted a video under your own free will. No one forced you to do this. You posted a public video on the internet and you're mad someone downloaded it or showed a screenshot from the TikTok video. I don't even think I played the whole video. That's the crazy thing. I just showed a screenshot from the TikTok. A screenshot from a frame of the TikTok. I know I'm going on a tangent right now, okay? But like sometimes when we talk about AI and we talk about art and we talk about content, sharing content, the logic people have is so backwards. You want to have a conversation about complete ownership of your content, but you're too illiterate to read a privacy policy on a platform that you're posting your content on? Perhaps a miseducation. I've seen people get mad that they posted a selfie on a public subreddit, right? And then they see their image on another website. What were you expecting to happen? Who you think was going to police that? If you post a picture of yourself on Instagram and somebody downloads the picture, like, are you going to blame the person who downloaded it? You going to blame Instagram? You can't. You just can't do that. You know what I'm saying? What were you expecting by publicizing your face on one of the most popular websites on the internet? But anyway, All right, I digress. You're and like people don't like AI art because it does steal assets from many artists to make their generated images. But but it is also critiqued for allowing to lack creativity. Allowing people to lack creativity with their stuff and innovation in comparison to what a real artist is able to do. With that being said, the same could apply to using an AI for programming. The times I've used AI to help me code, they've done some very questionable things. But I know why. It's the same why with the AI images. The coding bot will look up stuff on the internet and save it in some sort of data or memory, then give me the answer that isn't very innovative. It might be correct though, what the AI bot is giving me, but it's not done in a way where it's innovative, right? As an artist or anyone who uses AI to code, refining your skills or learning experiences is completely missed out on because of this. And you just completely miss out on developing new techniques to problem solve. It's unfortunate that this is where things are going in a sense. I've seen people who are new to programming or want to learn, they strictly rely on these AI helpers. Just realize though, for those people, the more you use the AI, the less you will dive into the documentation. The less you will use libraries people have made. I've never really been someone to ask for help personally. Remember I was mentioning Stack Overflow. I don't think I ever posted on there, but for those who are more confident asking for help in communities like Stack Overflow, or maybe you go on Reddit asking for help. If you have an AI with you, sometimes there's no point in talking on Stack Overflow because the AI will probably answer it for you. Now, don't get it twisted. Please don't. I'm not saying AI is completely bad because it makes it seem like I'm just completely dragging it, right? It's a powerful tool. It's just, unfortunately, something that has potential drawbacks. And I've been there. Again, I've used it a few times when I was stumped and it felt like something was just handed to me. And I don't know why something worked the way it did. And I was too lazy to look up the documentation. We have to understand that documentation, right? Switching to another topic here about documentation, all this stuff with programming. Documentation isn't the same for every language. And a common conversation that I notice is brought up, or what someone will ask me or ask around the internet, is what language should I learn? What language should I start with? These type of questions are too empty and vague, in my opinion. You have to understand when you ask that question to yourself or others, you have to think, what are you even trying to do? My ex, I was teaching her how to create a website, right? She wanted to make like a portfolio website for some of her photography. I was teaching her basic HTML and CSS. I'm not about to teach her like C++ though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Why? She wouldn't need to know C++ to develop some simple website like that. Some people don't even think HTML and CSS is even appropriate nowadays. Okay? I feel like you still got to use it, you know what I'm saying? But some people, they try to avoid it because, listen, the fact I could say that though, it's still popular, but people are creating many different options when developing now. I remember saying in an older video that I spent over 10,000 hours in C and C++. I still forget basic things though. Basic functions in C and C++, I'm still Googling that stuff. I don't know how you could forget it, but I forget it. It happens. And someone disagreed. I remember something I said in that video that someone disagreed with in the comment section. I said in the video, if I were to do this all over again in 2024, right? Let's say I didn't know how to code and I wanted to learn how to code, right? I said I would start with Rust. And the disagreement was that they were concerned that Rust doesn't teach you the right practices that C and C++ would. Although I do agree with this, I don't think in 2024 people have enough patience or willpower to learn languages at that low of a level. It sounds pessimistic, but C, and maybe I would say C++ as well, is too hard for a lot of people. And somehow they find Rust easier for them. I'm still baffled by that. But everyone is different, so whatever. I actually think Rust is very confusing in comparison to C. But in this industry, some people are using languages that are being adopted here. Like, I've seen people make the argument to use Rust over C/C++ because more companies are looking for Rust developers on LinkedIn. Like, people are like throwing away C++ because they're looking for Rust developers. I mean, hey, it is what it is. My point is, though, when we talk about what language should I learn, it should be about intention. And what do you plan to do with this? Let's say you're me, right? Let's say you're Aku. I said earlier in this video that I've been offered jobs that pay very well. However, I've declined these offers, nor have I decided to take these opportunities on my own will. I don't want to learn or adopt a language that your company is using because it's growing in popularity. Stubborn. I am very, very, very comfortable with C/C++. I'm not very good at front end stuff. So offering a job where you want me to write code in, I don't know, let's say React.js is not something I want to partake in. But let's say you, whoever's watching this video or listening, you don't mind learning React or any sort of front-end JS, JavaScript. You want to work in a field that uses front-end languages. You should be learning React right now. If you were to ask me what language should I start with, okay, well, if you want to do front-end stuff, I think you should start with React. You should, you know what, you should maybe even you should be doing Node.js. And if I were you, I would be making a Discord bot or multiple bots that are open source on GitHub. So I'd put that on a resume and then going around later on flexing that, you know what I'm saying, putting that on a resume like, look, I could code in Node.js, I could code in React.js, I'm good at JS, man. You know what I'm saying? Look, hey, look at me. I'm good at JS. Is it? Correct me if no, I don't even think I'm wrong about this. Isn't Facebook built in React? That's Meta. Meta owns Instagram as well. I know Instagram is also built in React. Yo, you want to work with these major tech companies, you got to hop on the right train when you asking questions about what languages should I study. When you know what you want in the end. You want to work with Facebook, Instagram, you better start hopping on that train. Someone like myself who loves C and C++, Google and Adobe, some of their apps are in C++. Oracle also right now. Like, last time I checked, a lot of the stuff is open source. Speaking of that, isn't MySQL open source on GitHub right now as well? Would I be interested in learning the source code and being taught what goes where and how and why for MySQL? Sure. Or some people call it SQL, right? Whatever. I don't care. I know it's written in C though. I love that. But if you ask me to do JavaScript, I might be a bit iffy about it, you know? But I'll learn. Now, would I say you should go to school for this stuff? Remember I told a story earlier about how we had to learn Java in class. I'm not saying people don't use Java or anything of that, but you don't need an educational background for this stuff. Another trip down memory lane was to earlier in this video. I mentioned about the Dungeons and Dragons thing. I'm thinking about making some money doing a startup. I have full control over my projects. I can learn and work at my own pace without dealing with the consequences of paying for school or going to school or trying to get a degree. I can learn while I pursue a new ambition. School takes up time too. You can work full time, and then when you're home, you can put your passion and your time into creating a project that you're passionate about instead of spending time going to school. How do you think that sounds? I don't see any harm in that. You know what I'm saying? You can learn this while you pursue another ambition. Who's going to stop you? Maybe someone in the household, obviously, if they don't understand it, but I think this is a good way to look at this. I learned so much in the past, not just with programming, but with people, but with life lessons, because I cared. You see how everything is going back together in a full circle here? One thing I want to mention about languages, though, right? When we talk about what languages to learn and what language should I pick up on, just because something is easy, it doesn't mean it's ideal. Like Python. Python is very easy to use. It's easy for new programmers to get involved in. Though, the language has several things I personally find to be bad in terms of practices. I also think Python is very slow. I wouldn't say that's an opinion. Python is actually very slow. But if performance doesn't matter to you, then who cares about that specific detail, right? But I'm dogpiling on here. You know what I'm saying? Every language has their positives and negatives. I can give Python a hard time right now, but you could also do the same for C++. Make me feel some type of way, right? There are also some things that aren't very nice with C. You may be somebody who roots for Rust. You heard what I said about Rust earlier. I think Rust is very hard to read, but you may say the same about C. I'd be like, what the hell? Look, when you strap on the programming socks, or you wish to get into this new world of potentially going down this career path, it's a commitment. It's not only a commitment of your interest in technology, but it's also a need for a decent understanding that the profession that your abilities will get tested on, it doesn't have to be I code, go get job. It can also be your own therapeutical way to keep your mind busy. Or maybe you want to make some money doing your own little thing. Who knows? And you know what? Coding is very therapeutical to me, at least. That I always found that it keeps my mind busy. I don't want to think about the other thing. You know what? I don't want to play games. Sometimes playing games so much, it makes my mind busy, right? So I don't have to think about real life. Same would be with coding. But at least with coding, at least I'm doing something productive. Okay? At least I'm getting some work done. Coding can be very therapeutical because it keeps me hyper focused on certain things. Does that make sense? Like I emphasized, programming is essentially about problem solving, or solving problems, problem solving, whatever, right? Front and back, whatever. The problems are not just logic, but creativity. You would think it's just something you do alone as well, but people work in teams. I'm not a very social person, so the fact I like working alone is another thing that benefits me. If you like group activities, maybe you would consider building up to take a career somewhere. Does that make sense? Maybe. I think a lot of programmers aren't very social to begin with, but working in teams might be useful because you got a bunch of introverts. Who knows? You could just leave some notes. Anything. You see how it's always, this whole video so far, it's always revolving around what you can do to better fit your wants and your overall goal. It's very black and white and unhelpful to simply say, I want to learn how to code. Like, with everything said in this video, you can see how this doesn't really make much sense. Nor is it very useful for you or anyone else involved with this sentiment. And regardless of whatever language you decide to first step your foot into, or walk this journey with, you have to always understand the concepts of data structures, principles of algorithms, and so forth. That stuff sounds intimidating, but that's why being resourceful is all about getting the right information and investing the time into it. That's why the documentations are important. Yes, you might ask for help or rely on these coding bots, but you have to learn at the same time. How can you sit there in front of your computer coding if you don't know how to make a challenge enjoyable to you? That is even implied for those who want to do this as a career. It doesn't even have to be about coding either. Think about whatever job or career you want to have in the future. Any career has challenges. Any job has challenges. How can you even make it more enjoyable in a sense? Because you may be handed challenges, but in the real world, in this industry, maybe not in yours, or maybe in yours, whatever job you're working right now or whatever you plan to work, you have deadlines. Will that challenge still be enjoyable to you with those deadlines? The pressure of working with other people? Whatever people may say, the demand for programmers is very high and is very favorable. Major tech companies are always looking. Make use of your time and spend it with moments of self-reflection to know what to do when you feel bold enough to try something. And with that being said, today, that is the Programming Socks video. It is now time we go our two different ways on another missed call.
Another missed call. I said let's go two different ways. That's another missed call. Saying that I'll never leave and stay. That's another missed call. Hearing back from you and I wait. That's another missed call. Those desires for you start to fade. That's another missed call. That's another missed call.